Okay, so I may have already inundated you with a lot of information about so many different programs. So how do we begin to make sense out of them? Okay, so here's an attempt to compare and contrast the programs actually, because you'll probably notice so much overlap in terms of the courses that people take and some of the careers that people go into. I'd like to focus more on contrasting these programs. So MBA programs, the first one I described, MBA programs generally seek to develop functional managers as well as entrepreneurs. Okay, this is a 2-year degree program that really is meant to enhance a person's skills and level of preparedness to take on managerial positions within organizations. Now, HR programs are much more specialized than business management programs. They are really focused on developing your knowledge of personnel, of HR, in specific topics such as compensation, selection, labor relations, etc. Okay, so your goal here would be to become an HR professional. Then you have the IO or Organizational Psychology Master's and PhD programs. These are aimed at developing organizational consultants who work either internally within organizations or who consult to different organizations on a variety of issues, which could include talent staffing, training and development, organizational change management, strategic human resource management, etc. So IO or Org Psych is broader than the HR programs that I mentioned before, and one of the advantages is that the IO psychology programs are theoretically and empirically grounded in psychology. So if still retaining an identity in psychology is important to you, as well as the discipline of the scientist practitioner approach of this field, then this might be something for you to seriously consider. Then we go to the master's and PhD degrees in org behavior, or OB. As I mentioned, this is more of a management-related degree. It features a study of theory and research in management and organizations, and most people with this degree either become consultants or management professors and researchers, especially if they have a PhD. Then we have the PsyD and OD. As I mentioned, this is an interdisciplinary field. It also produces organizational change consultants. I think one of the things which I may have not mentioned as much before is there's a tendency of PsyD and OD to focus a bit more on qualitative research and using qualitative research in understanding managers and organizations, which may be a contrast to the more quantitative or mixed methodology of research that are featured in the IO psychology programs. And this is not to say, may I emphasize, that one kind of research is more important than another. However, it's just that, in the history of psychology, there has been a slight bias towards the use of quantitative methods as opposed to qualitative research, although this is actually slowly changing. Finally, we have a PhD in leadership, and as I mentioned, this is geared towards working professionals who wish to occupy and advance in their careers as senior leaders in organizations. So some of the people who graduate with this degree might already be or want to become deans, principals, presidents of government agencies or non-for-profit organizations or for-profit organizations. And these are people who really are serious in developing their knowledge and competency in leadership. Okay, so that was all about the degree types. But what other factors should you consider as you think about the program in the school that you want to enter? Well, here are 8 more factors about the program that I want you to think about. Look at the mission, vision, and reputation of the school. Is this a school you will be proud to be associated with? Does the school have values that you resonate with? Look at where the alumni work. Then consider whether the university is more of a practice-oriented university or more of a research-oriented university, because the way you will be taught, the way you will be developed will be different. For example, a professional practice university will focus more on developing practical skills that you can use so that you, as a professional out there working in the field rather than teaching about it or doing research. This does not to say that you don't learn research, you will, except that the focus and the frame and the applications might be different. Fourth, take a look, of course, at the faculty credentials and their faculty interests to see if there's a match with your own interests. Fifth, look at accreditation, linkages with different professional associations. You want to look at course schedules and campus locations to see if that's a good fit with your own personal requirements. So for example, Alliant, as a practitioner-oriented school, does understand that our students are, many of them are working professionals. So in many of our campuses, we have courses that are offered in the late afternoon or evening, some on the weekends, and increasingly we are using what we call hybrid courses, which are classes that meet in person for a proportion of the time, as well as online. And of course, we also have online courses. And eighth, look at the opportunities for unique experiences that are offered by that particular university. What kinds of practical experiences, internships, international exposure, and other activities out there that are important to you as a student. One of the questions that the group has asked is whether it's common for working professionals to join Alliant, and the answer is yes. Several of our students work either full-time or part-time, and that is why we try to come up with schedules that will fit your needs, and that's very important to us. So yes, definitely flexibility is something we pay attention to. What makes graduate degrees at Alliant unique? Okay, I think I've mentioned some of these qualities for you. I think the most important is the emphasis on professional practice and application. So we're here to teach practitioners. We do come up occasionally with some people, some alumni who actually become professors, but the majority of them are in the field as consultants, as human resource managers, as training and development managers, executive coaches, change management professionals, etc. Our curriculum actually is carefully patterned to meet the requirements of different professional associations, such as the Society of IO Psychology and the Society of Consulting Psychology. We are WASC accredited. One of the unique things about Alliant, aside from the practitioner practice, is the emphasis on international and multicultural values. We are proud of our diverse student, faculty, and staff body, and we are constantly looking for ways to enhance the international knowledge and exposure of each and every student in our courses. We like our intimate learning atmosphere in the sense that our classes tend to be smaller. They're usually between 15 to 25 people in a class, so it's very intimate, and people get to work in teams, and the professor gets to know everyone. Flexible schedules, as well as a strong and loyal alumni network. Another thing, and I just really want to quickly touch on, is some personal factors that you should also consider as you make your decision about what courses, what degree program, as well as what school you want to join. So here are some important questions for you to think about. What are your career goals? And based on those goals, which of the programs I described fits your goals the best? What are your personal values? For example, are you more interested in managing people or managing businesses, or are you more interested in the people side of organizations? And what topics are you most interested in? Are you perhaps most interested in a specialized set of courses such as human resources, or are you more interested in a broader set of courses? What strengths can you leverage? Okay, one of the things that you might think about is your facility with certain courses like statistics. In different degree programs have different expectations about a student's facility or with statistics. So the psychology degree programs tend to emphasize, especially at the PhD level, tend to emphasize more of the quantitative approach. In other programs, might emphasize more of a qualitative narrative approach to research. So which is your strengths, what are your interests, and how can you leverage the things that you believe you are best at? Another thing to consider are external factors, particularly market demand and employability. As I mentioned, the MBA degree is the most common and the most well-known among employers, among recruiters, etc. However, be aware that there's also greater job competition among MBA graduates because there are thousands of them who graduate every year. On the other hand, the field of applied psychology, such as IO psychology, it's a much smaller field, a bit more specialized, and I'm proud to say that it was actually identified as one of the top 10 highest paying careers in 2012, and I attach actually the web link in Psychology Today for you to read a little bit more about it. But this is quite promising for our field, the fact that it's a high paying, it's probably one of the highest paying fields in psychology, and also it's a growing field. And more actually business managers are turning to IO psychologists or organizational change consultants for help because they realize that managing the people aspect of the business is perhaps more challenging than managing technical operations. But they typically learn this much later as they realize they have to work through people to get the job done. Let me also mention that both the PhD in IO Psych and the PsyD in organization development, these both offer good careers that are in high demand in consulting, organizational change, and leadership. And there is an opportunity because of your PhD or your PsyD to eventually go into academia if that is part of your career vision. So as a final note to this webinar, let me summarize by making a few points. The first is that you do have several options for graduate degrees out there. And my best advice to you is to examine the curricula very closely. Also pay attention to the schools and what they have to offer to you. And second is, in the end, don't worry too much about really choosing the right degree. In many cases, actually, there is this principle called equifinality. Multiple roads can lead to the same destination. At the same time, though, that process, because it's going to be a lengthy process, it could take 2 years, it could take 4 years, it could take 5 years, depending on what you choose, which program you choose. Choose wisely. Choose the one that fits you and your values and your career goals the best. But don't worry too much. There are many options to flex the courses that you take, to make adjustments along the way. Pay attention to your person program fit, and really look at what you're most interested in and which programs lead to your preferred careers. And do your homework. This is very important. I thank you actually for coming to this webinar because it tells me that you are very interested and serious about doing the preparation work required to making a very good decision about your future studies. But beyond this, I really encourage you to visit campuses, to talk to the students, the professors, to the alumni, and even attend a class. See how the class climate fits you. See if you like it. Ask people what happens in the class. Ask for feedback, informal feedback, etc. There's nothing better than really seeing a class in action to see if you believe you could be a good fit for this group. There is a question about whether Alliant is one cohort a year. Yes, Mike, you have answered this. We do, at least for the organizational psychology programs, the applied psychology and business programs, we do admit in multiple times a year, meaning to say in the fall as well as in the spring. We do admit for both semesters at this point. I want to leave you my email address in case you have any particular questions about the content of the curriculum as well as the careers in organizational psychology. I've also put Mike Giovannini's contact email here. He is the most well-versed in terms of the application process. So any questions about application requirements, deadlines, and so forth, he would be the best person to advise you. But more in terms of the content, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to speak with you on the phone or via email, or even welcome you in one of my classes as you prepare to make a good decision about your graduate degree for the future. We thank you for coming and joining us tonight, and we wish you the best of luck in your graduate program search.